Thank you very much for the possibility of being here today in this Parliament of Lithuania. I'm very happy to be part of this conference today, and I hope that data that I'm going to share with you really contributes to the discussion and to setting the stage to what we need to do from now on, how we need to move with this problem. I'm coming from Spain. I live in Madrid, where I develop my work, and I decided to put this image at the front page because I really think that this is what's going on now, and that this really goes beyond problematic internet use. I really think that there's a change in paradigm, and that the way we live and the way our adolescents live has changed for good. There's nothing we can do about that. So we need to take that into consideration when we read the world and when we really think how we are going to understand how different we are or not from now on, depending on that. That's relevant. So these are my disclosures. I've been working for a number of years now in research. I do have collaboration with the industry, but also have grants from different private institutions, public institutions within my country, and outside my country. And I really think this needs to be taken into consideration when listening to my talk. So this is what I mean by the change, right? The picture you can see, do you see my pointer, if I do that? No? Okay. So the picture on the left belongs to my neighborhood, where I lived when I was a teenager. So this is the early 80s. Everyone was on the street. People was like doing physical things. We used to have something to bounce and yeah. And this is where we spent the whole time. So I had my mom shouting out the window, "Hey, come back, dinner time!" And everyone just run, going down. This is not going to be back, at least in my country. I don't know if this ever happened in yours, but this is not going back. And this is the university time, right? People chatting, they are on the lawn, outside the buildings, like talking about things, not that much physical stuff, but just having a different interaction and working. This is the past, because this is the present. So we do have the same people, same ages, apparently hanging out together, but definitely doing that through an intermediate situation, an intermediate object, which is not only an object, which is a way of developing communication with others and with the rest of the world at the same time. I really think that's very important, and I decided to start with this part, because if we just focus on definitions and on online time, we are missing the point that is that we are not living in the same way. We drop some things and embraced others, and what we've embraced is absolutely different to what we had. So probably there's going to be difficulty comparing things, and I'm anticipating to that, but comparing things when we do follow up longitudinal cohorts, right? Not only related to that, but related to other things. We should start taking that into consideration when people started to use so widely these devices and drop so much other forms of being in the world, using the body, using the way of communication with the rest. And of course, there is a time, a moment in development where this is more salient and more relevant. I'm not presenting today data on neurobiology, but of course, this is the way to move forward. We really need to understand how this integration is changing the way we perceive the world. I'm presenting here a very interesting and provocative article that I really think that you could take a look at. That is by Tony Gitt, and that shows that really why adolescence is the time where people start using so widely, with so intense, in such an intense way, internet has a neurobiological meaning. Because we are in the moment, if we go back to adolescent, where people really has hunger for data. Why is that? There is this situation where everything is aligned for paying attention to the outside, for paying attention to the social connectedness, for really being absolutely impulsive and reckless. And this is the moment in time where the dopamine system, where all the systems that have to do with the reward are developing. But still, what has to do with control impulse is not well developed. So this is like the perfect storm. It's just hunger for data, connectedness, but not being able just to wrap up and to put yourself together and to control your impulsivity. That's wonderful, because otherwise we would have adolescents that would be dead. Imagine, when I'm a clinician, when an adolescent comes to my clinic, not showing interest in things, not doing reckless things, sometimes I'm really worried. And I think, okay, we have someone with a problem, right? So this is normal. The problem is that we have this amplified, magnified by the technology right now. And this is what happens. We have this exposure to bullying. It's constant. It can be constant. It can stay constantly there. The suicide contagion, we've seen an increase in that. That's a problematic thing. There's a constant social comparison. Think on those adolescents that are really bodybuilding or are with problems with anorexia and bulimia that really have a problematic situation. Social rejection, particularly for kids that are not so good at social connection, and peer pressure. This comparison, you're forced to do things, all these things that appear in Instagram or TikTok. Who dares to do? And then you find someone who's really gone through a very bad pathway. So with that in mind, what I'm presenting today is not a research project that I'm carrying, but rather a project that was put together by the Ministry of Health in Spain that I thought it could really present the current situation we are in now in the country where I live, that can be really interesting. This is a survey that presents two projects. One is on adults, and one is on adolescents. The one in adults also has a little bit of adolescent because it's 15 on, right? This is too small for me to be able to read, so I'll do my best to turn and to talk at the same time. But this is, I think, relevant. So these are the two surveys. It's for you to understand where the data comes from. The first one on the left is called Edades. It's like ages. It would be the English translation. This is general population. Both of them are general population surveys. 15 to 64 is a personal face-to-face interview going home. So some of the things I'm going to report are auto-administered, so just fill in by the person, but with an interviewer there at the home, with no compensation, and it's been done every 2 years since 1995. The other one, the students, is something like students, right? Is students 14 to 18 years old in secondary education in the classroom during a regular class time. It takes 45 to 60 minutes, so not that different from our study bootstrap now. Everything is anonymous, voluntary participation, and again, every 2 years since 1994. There's a huge number of valid questionnaires for every year. This is a number for the last edition, that's last year. This for the Edades is 2024, 26,000, almost 27,000, and for the students is 35, a little bit more than 35,000. Right? So this is we really have a very good picture. So the waiting for the analysis and for doing the survey is carried out based on the autonomous community. We have 19 autonomous communities in Spain. The size of the municipality, using 7 groups, 7 groups also for age, and 2 groups for sex, to correct for the disproportion of the sample. That's our methodological issues that I think are interesting. So when it comes to the response rate, and this is what's most striking, I did have a pointer. So when it comes to the response rate, you know, for the adults it's 34 to 35%, not the difference to others, but for students, once the school has agreed to participate, that did so in 88%, virtually everyone participates. Why? Because this is mandatory. This comes from the ministry. They have the time. This is something they have to do, right? This is what we should aim to do with our projects. We need to really go to the ministers, and you're so happy in Lithuania because everyone here is hearing, is listening to that, and hope this wonderful people that's making decision is going to talk to our ministers and to let them know that this is so important, because otherwise, no matter how good we do, we will have skewed data. Always. I hope not to be going too slow and to have at least 10 minutes just to finish, or 7 minutes, to show you the data. But I thought these are the most important things, because with that, we can truly believe what happens. And what I'm presenting is, mostly, I'm just focusing on some of the behaviors that appear in these this big survey. This is for drug use, for all sort of like addiction problems, not only behavioral problems. Okay, so we will be able just to see some of the situations that really appear when people have problematic internet use regarding use of other drugs. But the thing is that the main outcome is the compulsive internet use scale, the CIUS, but the thresholds are not exactly the same that are used in other surveys, right? So that's another point of conflict. So we are here using one that is up to 56 points, and the cut is when you have 28 or more. Okay, that's the definition, has to do mostly with that, not the broad definition that Natalie just presented before. As I mentioned, self-administered, online paper with no compensation, and the setting I already presented that to you. Of course, there's other things. I'm not going to present nothing on gambling. I'm not going to present nothing on the Libet questionnaire or the gaming disorder, but I'm also presenting two new things that were included that have to do to the problematic pornography consumption. It's not only using or viewing pornography, it's having this compulsion towards using pornography, and the social media compulsion also. That's another different scale, and I'm presenting that. This survey has evolved over time, and some of these scales just were included recently. So we have the possibility now, I have the possibility to show you data from adults and data from adolescents, and I really think this makes a lot about understanding really how is that in terms of evolution over time. So when we come to the Edades survey, the adult one, right? I'm going to refer to the adult and adolescent when presenting the different, instead of using the names of the surveys, that's a little bit more confusing even for me. So when we come here to the adult one, what we see is that there's near universal use. We are focusing on what's recreational internet use, what people do, almost everyone. There's 3% that is not using internet. Probably we can neglect that, right? And really what is interesting here is we see here that the young adults that are in the youngest ages are the ones that, you can see it here, the ones that are using internet much more than the rest. This is number of hours per day, mean like 5 hours, right? And if you go up to the 64, this is much less. When we go to the young population, what are the number of hours they use? That's even more. So if we go to the mean, we see that boys on weekdays use 5 hours, girls 5.2, and on weekends 6.5 and 6.1. So this is just use of the internet, right? Is take into consideration that by the time that this research was done, many schools already had banned use of internet at school. So this is 2025. Right? So we are really seeing that this is what people report. So this is not entering in their phones and seeing what's going on, right? This is what all these people is reporting. When we go to problematic internet use and use the adult sample, we see that the mean in men is 3.6% and 3.7% for women. Again, we see a huge disparity between 15 to 34 and 35 to 64, so up to 8%. But if we go to the young people, and what we see also is that there's an association. We cannot say that this is causal. And I didn't include all the, p less than 0.005, whatever, but what I report here are significant findings. It means that there's a true statistical disproportion between groups on the particular thing that is reported. So we see that those people having problematic internet use as adults have more binge drinking, much more drunkenness, and much more cannabis use. When we go to the students, this is increasing, right? So the mean is 15.5 for boys, 23.4 for girls. There's something going on with us, with females. There's something going on. We are much more vulnerable, and probably it has to do with the social connection or the social vulnerability, and we need to understand and protect ourselves, protect our heritage. Sorry, I'm a woman, and that's another conflict of interest that I didn't mention a priori, but this is really concerning. So we see that this is a problematic thing, but also the drunkenness, the binge drinking, the cannabis use, even the daily tobacco are there more frequently. But not only that, those people have more problems with all these variables. Conflicts with parents, difficulty concentrating, suffering anxiety or panic attack by a lot, and also all the rest. Having bad hangovers, cyberbullying, being expelled from school, regret sexual relationships without contraception, suffer a psychotic episode from hallucinations. That's awful. When we go to the social media use frequency and the problems, we see that there's possible PUI related to social media in 15.3 in general, and a little bit more in girls than in boys. And to finish, the pornography, just 2 slides. This is for adults. Probably you just need to focus on the big squares on the top. So this is ever use, right? Pornography is something that's not banned. You're an adult. That's something, that's a behavior that you can relate to. In these 63.8 ever in life have used pornography, more in men than in women, 80% versus 47%. If we go to the adolescents, we really see that the numbers are not that different. That's so interesting, even for the 14 years old. So 57.8% ever use porn. There's a slight decrease from the previous before, but and boys 80%, with girls 35%. That's really problematic, because when we go also to the proportion of problematic pornography use, this is huge, 4% in total, but 7 in boys, 1 in girls. And again, this huge connection with drunkenness, binge drinking, tobacco, and cannabis use. I'm not going to go into detail. I think I took so much time. I think that I reflected the size of the problem, and I hope that we can join forces for being able to have such wonderful data, more detail, and together with biological data to make the most out of that, and to change really the way we treat our society and our kids. Thank you very much.